Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable gets together. We'll see what kind of mess they get themselves into, but stay tuned for that. But between now and then, some great guests and information coming your way. We'll understand more about orthopedic surgery. We'll cover that. We'll also talk about secondhand items, why they're a good bargain for everybody. And speaking of good bargains, it's always a good bargain to buy your tickets to go to see shows at High Point Theater. We have a special one coming up. Dave Briggs is going to tell us about that, and he'll have a special guest with him. All that and more coming your way, but first we turn our attention to one of the finest organizations in the world. I love them. Girl Scouts are here, along with a representative of Girl Scouts. We're going to meet them right now on my immediate right. Cindy Mathis is Marketing and Design Specialist for Girl Scouts Carolina's Peaks to Piedmont. We'll find out more about that in just a second. Bailey Sawyers is 10 years old. Bailey Sawyers is 10 years old. And next to her, Aisley Pinkerton. Did I get that right? Okay, I want to make sure I get everybody's name right. 12 years old, and when's your birthday?
May 24th.
May 24th, okay. Now, I'm going to get both the girls to tell me what school they go to in just a second, but I want to start off with Cindy, and I want you to remind viewers of how many girls you serve and what kind of an area do you cover?
Right, so our council, Girl Scouts Carolina's Peaks to Piedmont, proudly serves 40 counties in central and western North Carolina. And currently we have about 9,000 active Girl Scout members.
And growing.
Yes.
Yeah, just a fun order. I just think what you guys do are great. Now, cookie sales. People say, I know about cookies. I buy them every year. I love the cookies. But beyond the fact that they taste good and they're fun to buy, why are they important?
Well, the cookie program is important because it fuels amazing and unique experiences for girls that they may not have access to otherwise. But also, girls are learning 5 essential skills that they'll take it with them into adulthood. So skills like decision making, goal setting, money management, business ethics, people skills, all those things are built into the program. And with that, girls, we see them grow in confidence. And not only are they learning these skills and funding their experiences, but when you purchase a box of Girl Scout cookies, your money is going back directly to the communities where you purchase those cookies.
Oh, that's just great. That's great. Ladies down here, I want to talk to you for just a second, to Aisley and to Bailey. Aisley, let me start with you. You've been one of the top cookie sellers for several years. What's the secret to your success?
Well, I've been one of the top cookie sellers for I think 5 of the 7 years I've been selling cookies, and honestly, I just make sure to put in as much effort as I can, and I ask everyone that I see, hey, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? And if they say no, that's okay, but if they do, well, that's a great sale. So yeah. I just always make sure to try my hardest, put as much effort in as I can, and ask everyone.
So you don't just grab them like this and say, you're going to buy some cookies. You just ask them if they want to buy some cookies.
Yeah, I try and be
Bailey, how many boxes do you think you're going to try to sell this year? Have you got any goal in mind? Have you thought about it?
1,545 OST for our military.
You're going to sell 1,000 cookies or 1,000 boxes?
1,500 boxes.
Look, how many cookies are in? Wow, boy, and it's going to help the troops too. And that's great. Both of the girls, I want to answer this. What's the best thing about being a scout? I'll start with you, Aisley.
Well, I really just enjoy the opportunities that we get, and camp is a lot of fun, and I really love selling cookies. It's when I'm very excited whenever cookie season rolls around because I know I'll get to interact with other people that I might not get to interact with otherwise, and it's just a lot of great skills that I'm really excited to be able to use, and yeah, I
learn
really
a little bit about
selling.
business too, because you got to keep straight on the money and the orders and all that kind of stuff. Bailey, what about you? What do you like best about Girl Scouts?
I like going to camp.
What do you do at camp?
Archery, rock climbing, boating.
Do you watch Triad Today when you're at camp?
No.
Golly, Bailey. Now, Cindy, how does being a scout, how does that benefit girls, do you think, being in the scouting program?
Well, I think Girl Scouting builds girls up to have leadership skills that will take them on to the rest of their lives. Girl Scouting prepares girls for a lifetime of leadership, success, and adventure because we give them a space that's just designed for girls.
That's just great. Aisley, very quickly, give me a couple seconds. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I would really like to do something in the creative field, possibly graphic design or costuming.
Okay. Bailey, what do you want to be?
I want to be a teacher and a Girl Scout leader.
All right, I'm proud of all 3 of you. Thank you for all you do. And up on screen, Girl Scouts, p2p.org. Please visit that website. We'll be right back on Triad Today. And I thought we'd try to learn something collectively. I want to learn about orthopedic surgery and a very specific field of that, as it were. And next to me is a very special guest. I'm glad he's here with us. Next to me is Dr. Ethan Weisler. He's a professor and chief of the hand and upper extremity section of the Department of Orthopedic Surgery at Wake Forest Baptist Health. Welcome to the program, Doc.
Thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me.
you.
Appreciate your time.
Can I get you just to set it up for us and tell me so I'll understand, what do you mean by upper extremity?
Right, sure. That's a good question to clarify for people. We, in orthopedics, have become very specialized, for better or worse. But I think it's for the better when people do much of the same thing all the time. I think we all get better at it. Upper extremity is really defined from the spine to the finger.
Okay.
We do, and some of my partners do, very special nerve reconstruction that involves nerves that come from the spine. My partners in the spine world do some of the work there as well. And then we do everything down to the tip of the finger. Nerves, skin, bone.
And that brings me to the hand, because I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the more common hand and wrist injury that you see these days?
I think our world in hand surgery is divided into two major groups. One is the trauma, which all I think we can understand what that is, cuts, sprains, breaks, and then reconstructive things in the hand. And that would be, to your question, something like carpal tunnel syndrome, trigger finger problems, arthritis.
What do you mean with a trigger finger problem? How do people get messed up with that a lot?
It's really common. Happens in every finger, happens in all ages, happens men, women, old, young, on dominant hands, non-dominant hands. But what happens is the finger gets stuck in a position like this, or the thumb gets stuck like this.
Right.
People wake up in the morning because we all sleep sometimes clenched and during our night.
Right.
And over time, the finger can get stuck, and people wake up and their finger's stuck here, and they have to pop it open.
Can I pay you? Have to pop it open. Okay. Now, what are some non-surgical treatments options that are available for patients that have some of these common problems?
At Wake Forest, we have a lot of different disciplines that help us out. We have neurologists and therapists and many different disciplines that do non-operative treatments, and they'd be helpful for steroid injections, for example, physical therapy, recovering from injuries that don't necessarily require surgery, medical management for certain conditions like with arthritis or trigger finger, carpal tunnel,
And then
all of them.
And then sometimes surgery is necessary. What's a common hand surgery?
I would say one of the most common things we do, you may have heard of carpal tunnel syndrome. Carpal tunnel surgery is pretty common.
And that's where if we're sitting at a desk doing a computer or typing or something like that a lot and we don't, did I get that wrong or what?
It's one of the reasons, it's a little debatable, but it's one of the reasons that repetitive use or certain positions in our world does contribute to that numbness in the fingers.
You were mentioning some folks, ladies and gentlemen on your team that do various things within the department. So let me very quickly before time runs out, with kind of a comprehensive team approach like that, how does that benefit each patient?
Well, we all bring a certain skill set and certain knowledge. We can't know everything about all conditions. So we depend on our specialty colleagues who do therapy or rehabilitation medicine or medical management for different conditions. There's so many advances in medicine now that we just can't know everything.
I want to ask you a personal question too in just a second about how you got started, but up on screen before time gets away from us, I want to put this up, wakehealth.edu/ortho. The number is 716-WAKE. The number, the digits are 9253, 716-9253. I'm just curious, since we never met, what or who led you to a career in medicine?
Well, I think it started before I was very aware of it. My father was an engineer and sort of always grew up with tools. That was very facile to me, and then just a curiosity about the human condition.
And why this specialty?
Just that marriage between the tools, and part of the trade of what we do is tool and mechanically based, and then just my curiosity about the human condition.
We're glad you were curious, and we're glad you're here and doing what you do. Thanks for being here, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Hope you come back sometime.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Triad Today, and I'm always glad when we can have one of our friends from Goodwill stop by and let us know what's going on. A fine organization, and we're glad to have back with us Sarah Butner. She's on my right, Communications Manager for Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You know, Sarah, most of us, when somebody says, hey, Jim, let's talk about recycling, I'm thinking, oh, you mean take plastic bottles and newspapers and throw them in a, but you know, that is recycling. But it's also recycling when people donate to Goodwill, when people shop at Goodwill. Talk about that.
Absolutely. we don't really think about how many resources go into making clothing and household items. It takes something like 700 gallons of water to produce a single T-shirt.
Wow.
Over going through all the materials and the manufacture and transporting. And so when something's donated and you're shopping at a local thrift store, all of that has stayed in the area. No new resources were used making it. No additional manufacturing or transportation costs, so it's a lot more sustainable a choice than buying something brand new. And if you are needing to get rid of things that you no longer use, of course, reselling or donating them to someone who will resell them is far more beneficial than dumping items somewhere.
Yeah. Gives a whole new perspective to the term recycling, I think. And people, if we can get in that mindset, then maybe we'll donate more and shop more at Goodwill stores. Now, speaking of Goodwill retail stores, and when we give the website later on, people can go and find out where they are. What kind of secondhand items can we find at Goodwill retail stores?
You can find the same types of items and the same quality of the things that you already have in your home. And that's because people, Americans, we have a lot of stuff. And more and more people, especially this time of year, are going through and purging things they no longer need. So those items are still in really good condition. Mostly clothing is mostly what you'll find in the stores. That's adults, children, outerwear, even formals. I think
you sent me an email one time saying you even find designer wear stuff?
Yes. I spotted recently a Calvin Klein dress that still had the original tag on for $90, and we were selling it for $10. It was not in my. It was not in my size, unfortunately. But and a lot of people don't realize that we sell computers as well, refurbished computers as well as component parts.
Right. Now, is there more and more of a trend? I know there was a book about this written recently. I think it was called Secondhand or something. But is there a trend nowadays, more and more people wanting to shop at places like Goodwill retail stores to buy secondhand?
Yes, we've seen that, and other thrift stores have as well. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. People are more aware of the environmental impact of their shopping and know that thrifting helps reduce that. But I think for particularly younger adults, they really like the novelty of that in-person experience that you don't get from shopping online, and especially if you can find something unique that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere or at any other time.
Right.
And of course, people are always looking to save money, and I think the word has really gotten out about that. And we were talking about those designer items. The reason you can find so many name brand and high-end items at Goodwill is because those are the things that are made to last. They last long enough to be sold secondhand.
Absolutely. And in the time remaining, let's don't forget to remind folks at home how everything comes back full circle, why it's important to donate, why it's important to shop. How does all that connect back to what helps fund the mission?
We served about between 29 and 30,000 people last year with employment services, and the reason we can do that is because of those retail stores. When people donate to Goodwill and shop in those stores, that money stays right here in this community. We devote about 90 cents of every dollar to that mission and sustainability, and those dollars stay right here in this community, helping people that you may know in your neighborhood, in your church, with things like free resume preparation, even retraining and taking classes to find a new career, and
all sorts
whatever
of
other
job
services
training
they
skills.
need.
I know you put on seminars and things where you can meet with employers and job fairs, and yeah, it's just and people sometimes they don't realize it, that you go donate a coat or something, that ends up in a store and somebody buys that, and that money circles right back to help people. I just think what you're doing is great. And up on screen is goodwillnwnc.org. The NWNC, of course, stands for Northwest North Carolina. I'll say it again for the radio listening audience, goodwillnwnc.org. Please donate items. Please shop at Goodwill retail stores. And just a quick reminder, when you shop at a Goodwill retail store, you can also donate while you're there. Is that right?
Yes, all of our stores have donation sites, and then we have about another 40 or 50 standalone donation sites. You've seen those trailers around everywhere as well. So it's about 100 locations in Northwest North Carolina.
So you can donate
altogether.
and shop at the same time.
Absolutely.
Sarah Butner, thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Today I have two very special guests with me. It's time to talk theater. But instead of just talking with Dave Briggs, we have somebody who's really making it a more lovely segment, and she's funny and talented and all that. Next to me, Kelly Swanson. She's a comedian, motivational speaker, and much more. She wears many hats. And next to her, our good buddy Dave Briggs, director of High Point Theater. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Nice.
And folks know about Kelly from throughout this area, and anybody who's looked at YouTube knows about her already too. But Kelly, let me ask you specifically, what is the name of the show that's coming up in High Point Theater later?
It is Who Hijacked My Fairy Tale.
What does that mean, Who Hijacked My Fairy Tale?
Well, I mean, To those who've had their fairy tale hijacked, it is already ringing a bell. They know exactly what I'm talking about. It's for people whose life did not go the way you planned.
I got you.
And the glass slipper turned out to be plastic.
And that can happen to all of us, right?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Not just women.
So this is born of real life stuff, but you make fun of things and you're just hilarious. Now, what led you, when you were a little girl, I mean, did it start then, or what led you to sort of be funny, be a motivational person, be able to speak, not be afraid of audiences? What led to that?
Well, it wasn't planning. And it wasn't my parents' ambition when they sent me to college. But in truth, it happened by accident. People always say, how'd you become a comedian? I'm like, I was the shy, picked on kid that got bullied and that never fit any fairy tale story. I looked like androgynous Pat from Saturday Night Live in high school. Yeah. And so comedy was my defense mechanism. If I could make the joke, right. Then it was, if I could find the happiness in it, then I fit in, or at least I felt better about myself.
Right.
It's hard to explain.
Well, bless your heart. You're funny and you're beautiful, and we just love what you do. Dave, before we get on to some other topics, I mean, comment on this lady and her show.
Well, I've known Kelly for almost 20 years now, and I fell in love with her. She did a showcase at High Point Theater back in the early 2000s, and I said, I love this woman. And so I've sort of been following her career. And when I moved to High Point, I got in touch with her and I said, Kelly, we need to put something together. And she says, well, I'm working on this show. And it just so happened this past year, what was it, August or so? And she said, I think I'm ready to do this. It's called Who Hijacked My Fairy Tale.
Yeah, we're going to put up the information on the screen in just a second. But before I do that, and either of you can jump in on this, I'm curious because I want to make sure, as a disclaimer, is your act going to be okay for the whole family? Is it just for moms and dads, or what?
Well, there is some nudity. I'm teasing, like that would fit in the set. No, here's what I want everybody to know too. The humor will, of course, a lot of the jokes are appealing to women in my stage of life. But the message, I hear this over and over again. I wish my daughter had come. I wish my children could hear this. And it's resonating, surprisingly, with men. I thought, only women are going to care. I've had more men respond to it emotionally, sometimes even than women.
Well,
so
we need the nudity factor to respond emotionally.
Well, her hands are uncovered.
Are there any? Are there still a few tickets left?
Yeah, we still have seats available.
So up on screen, I want to do this instead of waiting until the last of the segment. Sure. Who Hijacked My Fairy Tale is up on screen Friday, January 17th, 7:30 p.m. at High Point Theater. And I'll give you some other websites in just a second. Before we run out of time, I want to ignore Kelly for just a second. Dave, you have two things coming up. One, Anything Can Talk, January 26th.
Yeah, David Pendleton is an amazing ventriloquist to be with us on the 26th of January. He's got 4 characters, and he makes them just talk. Okay. And he'll bring folks up on stage. He's a great entertainer. And then on February 4th, we have
the We Shall Overcome.
Damian Sneed. And the show's called We Shall Overcome, and it's a beautiful tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
All right, up on screen now, I want to go backtrack a little bit. You can go to whohijackmyfairytale.com, lots of good information there. And also the main website for High Point Theater is highpointtheater.com. For the radio listening audience, I'll say it again, highpointtheater.com. Box office number is 336-887-3001. Please get your tickets if you haven't already done so, and get there and see Kelly. She's brilliant and beautiful and funny, and I just feel privileged that you dropped by to see us.
Oh, don't take me too seriously. But thank you, I appreciate it. It's my honor. It's my hometown, the Triad, so
you got to do it. You got to entertain. If you can make it in High Point, you can make it anywhere.
No, you are not kidding.
Or was that New York? I don't know. All right, thanks to Kelly. Good luck, and
thank you.
Break a leg. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. All right, we'll be right back after this. Today, before we get to the roundtable, I was looking to copy. Yes Weekly has a possum on the front. I don't know, I haven't read that yet, so I don't know why there's a possum on the front, but it's free. I hope you pick up your issue, Yes Weekly. Speaking of, got 3 guys that play possum.
I thought that was Ogie.
What? No, no, this is not. Watch
Fly,
your mouth.
fly.
That was our record label's name.
That's right.
Possum Records.
Three guys that play possum. All right, next to me on my right, but always a political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist. Next to him, former sheriff of Guilford County, now mayor of Summerfield, B.J. Barnes, and held over from the last segment, our good buddy Dave Briggs, director of the High Point Theater. And speaking of municipal things, of course, we all know that counties and cities will pay cash incentives to get people to move there. You know, in this case, BJ's actually paid Ogie a cash incentive not to come to Summerfield. It's something a lot of people didn't make the news. But all right, it's a
We're
happy
waiting
new.
on the check to get to you.
Yeah, that's right. It'll clear. This is our first show of the Happy New Year, our 18th season on Triad Today. All right, now for the first time ever, Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, all of Guilford, most of Forsyth is going to be under one congressional district. And there's no incumbent because now it's shifted toward a little bit more Democratic, so Mark Walker is not running. There are 2 Republicans running, 5 Democrats, including Kathy Manning and Bruce Davis. Quickly, guys, is this going to be a lock for Democrats? Is Manning the favorite? Or can Republicans hold on to the new 6th district? Ogie.
Well, I've learned through bitter experience there's no such thing as a lock in politics. I do think Kathy Manning's going to be the favorite, but I was a little bit critical of the way some of the aspects of her campaign. She's going to have to step it up a bit, but I think she's going to be the front runner.
Mayor.
Yes, yes, and no. It is. She is the favorite. It is going to be a Democrat that will probably win it, I'm afraid to say. And I don't think it's going to be tough for any Republican to win.
Dave Briggs.
Yeah, I happen to agree with BJ on this one. I think that change in demographic and the geopolitical situation will be
You
difficult.
think the handwriting's on
for
the wall
Republican,
then?
yeah.
While we're talking about elections, there are 2 transgender candidates running for state legislature this year. One of them's from Durham and someplace else. Will North Carolina voters elect transgender candidate in 2020? Ogie Overman.
I would like to think that our tolerance level has increased to where we will judge the candidates on the merits and on the policy and not the transgender
I feel
aspect.
a butt coming.
But are we there? I
BJ.
kind of doubt it.
I kind of doubt we are there either, but I too would wish that they would look at the merits of the candidate as opposed to to any other.
Dave, is 2020 the year?
I don't know that sexual preference doesn't matter. What matters is whether they can do the job or not.
All right. Several airlines are now telling their flight attendants not to use the term ladies and gentlemen so as to create a more inclusive environment for all passengers. I don't know about this one. Are you guys okay with that new policy, or is it going too far with political correctness? Ogie.
What are they going to use? What are they going to say?
I don't know.
Hey, y'all.
I don't get it. I don't see any problem with it.
BJ.
I don't. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's just another example of PC gone too far.
Dave.
Well, it's ridiculous. If you identify as a toaster, do we want to say, welcome to the toaster in seat BA?
You have to say
B4.
you're either. What goes to the whole thing? Are you a biological male or a biological female? But either way, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
really.
You know,
It doesn't matter.
lady, to the old school guys, ladies and gentlemen was a compliment. But anyway,
And
okay.
you didn't say lady A, lady B, gentleman A.
Yeah. Well, there's no
There's a
gentleman.
strange person in the back.
Yeah, there's no gentleman up here. So some of us were critical of Texas lawmakers when they made it legal for folks to carry a gun into church. But now that an armed parishioner has recently stopped a mass shooting, do you support the Texas law? And would you like to see North Carolina allow guns in churches? Ogie.
Jim, I just can't it just doesn't, I hate to think that we've come to this point where, you know, Ethel, you look nice. You got your snub nose in your purse, and I got my .38 concealed.
You don't want to see it here.
In church, I just hate to think about it.
BJ.
They had a motto, don't mess with Texas. I'd like for them to have one that says don't mess with North Carolina. Or
So you'd
any
be
other
okay
place.
with that? Dave, you think we should have...
You know, I have an armed officer outside the theater for every event. I can see the reason to have it.
District attorneys in Fairfax and Arlington, Virginia say they will no longer prosecute someone for possessing a small amount of marijuana. Are you guys okay with that? And should we adopt the same policy here? Ogie.
It should have happened 20 years ago or more. Yeah, of course.
BJ.
Possession of a small amount right now gets you nothing but a misdemeanor and a slap on the hand.
But it's on your record, right?
It's on your record, but it's still.
Yeah, they're an officer of the court. Unless the law has changed, they have I'm assuming they have the right to set sentences the way they want, or
Yeah.
fine.
Speaking of Fairfax, Virginia school system is now letting students have one free day off for so-called civic engagement, which means a student can skip class to go attend a protest rally, which is really what this was born out of. Are you okay with this policy, Yogi?
I think it's a great idea, Jim. I mean, there's plenty of other forms of civic engagement other than protest rallies, getting kids involved to see how the process works.
Voter registration stuff?
Absolutely.
So you're okay with the free day?
Absolutely.
BJ?
No, I'm not okay with a free day. They need to be in there learning something.
All right.
Yeah.
And of course, on the other side, they would say, well, we are learning something if we go to the state capitol and see how laws are made, or...
How many of these kids do you actually think have an understanding of what they're there for?
Well,
Yeah, Jim, I just wish they'd teach teach civics.
Yeah.
Teach civics
I wish
in
they'd
there.
teach
No,
civics.
I agree. Dave's being serious. I'd like to see civics comes back as a course too. All right, finally, I don't know about this one, guys. A recent study says there are more germs in your car than there are in your bathroom, and the researchers say it's actually healthier to eat off the toilet than to eat in your car. Guys, have you ever eaten on the toilet? Ogie.
Well, it looks like the new year is going to be like the rest of it, Jim. On the toilet or off the toilet?
I don't know what they
I
said
don't
it's
know.
cleaner.
I can't answer
BJ.
that.
Makes me wonder what people are doing in their car. I don't think that.
Dave Briggs.
That might be the single most disgusting question you've ever asked.
We'll just leave it at that. On the
New low
toilet.
in
Germs.
2020.
All right. Well, we're here in the germ capital of the world. All right. Well, that's about all the time we have. Oh, except for this. There was a construction crew recently at Montclair State University, and they were doing some renovation in this old building. The building was 112 years old. So they were tearing down a wall, and behind the wall they found a letter, and they opened the letter, and there's 112 years old, and the letter said, "Vote for Bernie Sanders." I don't know what that means. He's been running a long time. For all of us guys here on the first show of the new year and our 18th season, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next time.